Hi. I can't hear.
Give it just a couple more minutes to see if we can get more members of the council online. We'll give it another minute to see if we can get just a couple more members online.
Okay.
Seeing that we're 5 after the hour, moderator, would you mind trying to kick us off and see if we have quorum?
Absolutely. Good morning and welcome to the Governor's Interagency Advisory Council on Homelessness to Housing. This meeting has been publicly noticed in compliance with Nevada's open meeting law. Chair Tim Robb will call the meeting to order.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It is 11:05 on December 18th, 2024. I'd like to call the meeting of the Nevada Interagency Advisory Council on Homelessness to Housing to order. Will the moderator please call the roll?
Chair Tim Robb,
I am here.
Senator Dina Neal,
Here.
Assemblyman Max Carter,
Present.
Deputy Director Emily Testweed,
Here.
Administrator Robert Thompson, Juana Grant on behalf of Administrator Stephen Acroft,
Here.
Colonel Mary Devine, Lieutenant Christopher Gurrell, Lieutenant Shatana Daniel,
Here.
Sheriff Jerry Allen, Judge Mike Montero,
Good morning. I'm here.
Judge Christy Craig, Dr. Katrina Grigsby Thedford,
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for attending today. I was hopeful we would make it there and glad that we did. So with that, I think we can move to agenda item number 2, which is public comment. No action may be taken under a matter raised until this matter has specifically been added to an agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. If you're making public comment via phone, please call 1-775-321-6111 with the meeting ID of 285-404-721, followed by pound. We're now open for public comment. Is anybody online wishing to make public comment today? Give those that may be dialing in a couple of seconds to do so. Was there any written public comment that was submitted?
There is none.
Thank you. Seen anybody join the meeting, so I think with that we're good to close public comment and move on to agenda item number 3, discussion and possible approval of the meeting minutes from September 26, 2024 of the Homelessness to Housing Council. Do we have any discussion on the meeting minutes or any additions or edits that anyone would like to see to those meeting minutes? Okay, with that, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
This is Judge Montero. I'd move to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second from Max Carter.
You. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Our meeting minutes from the last meeting have been approved. With that, we can move on to agenda item number 4, discussion and possible action regarding the review of the recommendation of the housing applications from the Nevada Housing Division in accordance with Assembly Bill 310, the Supportive Housing Development Fund. Do we have Deputy Administrator? Let's see. I believe Deputy Administrator Grant, are you going to be taking this item?
Here. Yes, it's Joanna.
Oh, thank you so much, Joanna.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you guys all so much for being here today. I know you called a special meeting for this presentation, and I really appreciate it because we're excited to share with you where we are in the process for the very first round of the Supportive Housing Development Fund. Would it be okay if I shared my screen?
Absolutely.
Great. So I created some slides for you today to go through the process where we are in the applications and have a little bit of discussion. As Chair Rob mentioned, my name is Joanna Grant and I am the new Deputy Administrator for the Housing Division. I know some of you know me from my former role at the Coalition, and we've been engaged pretty closely on AB 310 and the Supportive Housing Development Fund for a long time. So I'm very excited to be here today on this side, moving this process forward with my team, Christine Hess and Tracy, who are both on the call here for support as well. So let me get over here. So as many of you know who the Housing Division is, but as a refresher, Assembly Bill 310 passed in the last legislative session, creating the Nevada Supportive Housing Development Fund, and it was really intended to build infrastructure capacity and provide funding support for quality permanent supportive housing projects. And additionally, there's $2 million of the $32 million one-time appropriation that we have RFP'd out for capacity building and data and evaluation. So really, if you remember, this is a pilot program, first time in Nevada, and we're rolling it out just this year for the first time. Part of the regulations of the AB 310 and Supportive Housing Development Fund was to consult with the Interagency Council on homelessness to housing. And so that's what we're doing here today. And that was within 45 days of the application closing. So that's why we called this December meeting. So I really appreciate you all taking the time to be here today. Just as a refresher, the goals of the Supportive Housing Development Fund were to increase the supply of quality supportive housing, to build the capacity of supportive housing and reduce homelessness and inappropriate institutionalization, and to evaluate the effectiveness of that intervention here in Nevada. And so we have laid out to do that with this program, and we are starting that out with these first applications. And I'm going to go through our application process and also some of the highest scoring applications so you have a better idea of kind of our scoring process. So we started with pre-applications and we received 17 pre-applications and approved 13 to move forward. And then those 13 applications were approved to move forward. The application round closed on the 25th, and ultimately we received 12 applications for this round of Supportive Housing Development Fund. And then we've also released, but are still open, requests for proposals for the statewide capacity building and training and the program measurement and evaluation. And those will close on a week from Friday, December 27th. So we're still waiting on those, and we'll be likely moving forward in January with the awarding process and selecting RFPs through our scoring and ranking process as well. So our scoring process, the pre-application we reviewed internally, and we were only reviewing to make sure that the project proposals met the threshold requirements of the program before moving forward to applications. We created a scoring and ranking committee of internal NHD team members across departments. We held a standard of 85 score or higher to move forward in the process. Our scoring committee scored on the rubric you see here on the slide. We created this point rubric. We all scored independently, and then we came together to discuss our scores and reasoning behind our scores to ensure a transparent process. And then now we have selected 5 potential awards that have scored above the 85 threshold, but we still have some steps before making awards. So just want to be clear, I'll be sharing the highest scoring applications with you today, but we haven't officially selected awardees or made awards. There's still some in-depth fiscal review that needs to happen and some clarifying outreach that needs to happen with the potential awardees. So just want to make that clear in case there's any applicants on the call here today. And of all the applications we received, 4 were from Southern Nevada, 7 were from Northern Nevada, and we had 1 planning grant application from rural Nevada. The average score across all the applications were about 80 points. We say awarded, but really these are the selected highest ranking applications because we have not made awards yet, but the average score amongst the 5 highest ranking applications was 88. Points, and the non-selected applications for highest score was an average score around 60 points. So there was a pretty big difference across all our scoring, and of all the scoring and ranking committees, the rubric scoring was pretty well aligned. There weren't any major discrepancies across scoring committee members. So that was great. for transparency and consistency. Of the highest scoring awarded applications, 4 were from Northern Nevada and 1 was from Southern Nevada. And we're hoping to finalize the scoring process through these final reviews and fiscal reviews and make award letters in January. And so some of the applicants will be hearing from us. All of the applicants actually will be hearing from us over these next few weeks for clarifying questions, notifications of denial, or moving forward in the awarding process. So if we ultimately score this selection of 5 highest scoring applications, the anticipated first round of awards will total $11 million, almost $12 million. The potential highest scoring applicants range from all eligible organization types. Aside from tribal projects, we didn't receive any applications from any tribal projects who would also be eligible under these categories. 4 of the projects, as I mentioned, were in Northern Nevada, 1 in Southern Nevada, and ultimately we'd be supporting 182 of new units of permanent supportive housing across the state in this first round if we move forward with all 5 applicants that were scoring highest. Because we weren't oversubscribed in this funding round and we have remaining funds left, we are anticipating opening a second round in the spring and providing some capacity building and training ahead of the second round to improve outreach and also improve scoring and project planning for these applicants. So now I'll go through the 5 highest scoring applicants and I've selected some key highlights from each application to kind of give the committee an idea of our logic around scoring and why these applicants were scoring higher, kind of those key scoring indicators. The first one is the Washoe County Cares Campus Permanent Supportive Housing Project, totaling 45 units in Washoe County. Their application outlined their evidence-based clinical practice. They outlined a low tenant to staff ratio, which is a best practice in supportive housing, anywhere under 25, depending on the acuity of the population. They have significant leveraged funds through the county and formal partnerships with ancillary services to ensure some sustainability of services. And they're working strongly on regional coordination and will be using coordinated entry for the tenant selection plan, which is really a gold standard for permanent supportive housing to ensure that the most vulnerable population is served by these units. So that's one. The second one is Line Drive Apartments by Accessible Space. Similar high scoring points, targeting medically vulnerable and veterans with VASH vouchers. So some increased resources there to ensure sustainability, low tenant to staff ratio. Mission-driven property management. ASI has experience nationwide doing their own property management and services and has experience in providing this type of housing previously, and some leveraged partnerships with Medicaid billing as well to ensure some sustainability of services funding. Just as a reminder, this is a one-time program. As of now, we only have a one-time appropriation. So really it's a pilot program. So we were really looking at projects that could come to the table with some sustainability plan to ensure that these projects, as they go live and the tenants start moving in, they don't get cut off from services after 5 years. So we'll all be working together as a community to continue this program as well by proving this model, but we were really looking at projects that have some sustainability plan in the case that we aren't able to renew this funding resource. Next one is Carvel Court by the Housing Authority of the City of Reno. This is a small project, 11 units, and we'll have 1 case manager on site for all 11 units. It is bolstered by project-based vouchers, and the Reno Housing Authority has a moving on strategy for folks that reach some kind of level of where they can sustain independent housing and they can be accelerated into their housing choice voucher program, which ensures some sustainability and some turnover in the units so they're available for other potential tenants that might need this level of intervention. They also will be working alongside Volunteers of America, who is an experienced permanent supportive housing provider in Washoe County. Instead of providing the services themselves, they'll be doing the development and the property management, and Volunteers of America will be partnering to provide the services. Volunteers of America already also had their own application for the Highway 40 project. This is 26 units. 14 of those units will be served by the Supportive Housing Development Fund, with the remaining units in partnership with the Nevada Adult Mental Health Services, who will be providing referrals and services for those units. So some sustainability on those units as they're partnering and using their funding as a funding source for services. This project will be targeting individuals with severe and persistent mental illness, and they'll be also pulling from the coordinated entry queue as well. And VOA will be providing property management as they do with their other supportive housing projects in Washoe County. And then South Nellis Permanent Supportive Housing, which is our one project that was highest scoring in the South, in partnership with Coordinated Living and Mojave Mental Health Services. This project will also be targeting individuals with severe and persistent mental illness. They included a budget item for 24-hour staffing and have already contracted consultants to provide technical assistance as this project has moved forward in the development process. And that those consultants, including Mojave Mental Health and a supportive housing subject matter expert, will be providing staff training for the property management staff, who this will be their first supportive housing project that I know of for Coordinated Living. So strong capacity building plan already in place for this project, which increased their scoring. And this project is supported with project-based vouchers and some Medicaid billable services through Mojave, who's bringing some funds to the table. So some sustainability factors there as well. So those are the kind of summary of some of the highest scoring points for these 5 projects. We do have some clarification on some of the projects, and we're going to have to do deeper dives into some of the finance and budget to ensure some sustainability, also to ensure that the budgets align with allowable costs before we make official selections. But those are the highest scoring applications at this point in the process. So as I mentioned, we have some curing processes and final reviews to make. I wanted to bring up the potential of ongoing collaboration with the Interagency Council, as that was a part of the intention of the original bill. For us to consult with you was not necessarily just to present, but also to have some meaningful engagement, potentially a subcommittee, potentially more support and feedback on the future rounds, and reviewing the program guidance as we improve processes. Potentially enlisting some folks from this group to be on our scoring and ranking committee for a spring round. So that is one thing we could talk about today, and also just wanted to get your thoughts before we move forward on what you've heard so far, the pilot process, and what you think might work best moving forward. Looks like Senator Neal.
Fantastic. Well, I'll jump in here real quick. Thank you so much. This is amazing. I know that it's been a ton of work to get to this point. And I know that the regs process is always a little bit challenging as well to navigate. So appreciate you guys sticking through the process, bringing this to us, making these great recommendations. And I appreciate the partners that are all coming together to make this work, and kind of economies of scale within the projects that are being proposed. I think that that's great. And I think the sustainability piece is huge. With that, we'll open up the questions. Senator Neal, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'm trying to figure out, in the plans, did any of them break down what is their sustainability for, if, let's say, it's drug addiction and it's not mental health, or if it's an overlay, like how they are going to fund it in that 5 years? That's the question.
Yeah, so in the application process, we required we requested tenant selection plans. So those were a way to figure out regional coordination, which was a requirement of the grant process, but also targeting populations to ensure that these funds are going to units that are going to support the populations of most vulnerable Nevadans that were intended by the creation of this program. But we also asked about service plans. So all the applicants submitted their service plan for how they're going to address common barriers to housing and how they're going to approach tenancy support services, whether through specific clinical interventions. If they have a special population, they might have behavioral health on site, or healthcare professionals on site, or if they're targeting a broader chronic homeless population, which is kind of the intended bucket for permanent supportive housing, they kind of have a case management housing plan coordinator, a tenancy support services case manager, and that person connects them through intensive case management, not just kind of like handoff referrals, but through intensive case management to the appropriate services. So you could see those in some of the stronger service plans that were provided. You can see some outlines of those, that kind of process for navigating different potential case management activities.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Senator. Judge Montero, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to hear about this. I'm kind of curious, though, being a rural district court judge, if you have any sense of why you're not receiving more rural applications.
Yeah, I think, just this is, of course, is just a brainstorm, not any evidence-based or fact-based information. But in my work and outreach across the state for affordable housing in my previous position and seeing what's come in through the applications, a lot of development in the rural communities, they can't access kind of the bigger funding pieces because they need larger developments. So they might not need a 50-unit development in one rural community for this type of population. It really depends on the needs. So what we did see in the couple of rural applications that have come in, and kind of also just in my conversations with rural communities in the past, is really that they're maybe needing a more partnership approach, or even smaller scale unit development, or even maybe the folks that they are serving with this approach are accessing units that are in the market, but they need a subsidy and services to come alongside. Whereas this program was really development based, right? We're trying to create new units versus it being kind of a rental subsidy program, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering if it might have something to do with, the applications that you presented, they have pretty significant partnerships with mental health providers and other agencies that can assist. And I just was wondering if there may be limitations in some of the rural areas of having those other supportive services to bolster an application, if you're noticing that as a barrier. But thank you.
Yeah, I think that's very valid. I think if we saw more rural applications come in, I could make, maybe a better assessment, but we could also improve our outreach and capacity building in the rural areas to support the development of these types of projects in the future as well.
Well, thank you. And I would offer, not that I want to be on a scoring committee because that's not my strength, but if there's some outreach that I can help with in rural Nevada, please let me know, because I know that we have a need. I understand it's not to the scale of Washoe and Clark, but we have significant problems with finding affordable housing, and something like this is probably non-existent in most of the really rural places like where I'm at in Winnemucca. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you both so much. Is there any additional questions for our housing division? Hearing that, I think, Joanna, is there something that you would like us to do on today's meeting? I know we have this marked as for possible action. Are you looking for approval by the council of moving forward as you guys have proposed and started the process on before moving to the next step of final approvals for projects?
I think the decision to be made today is the level of involvement this group would like to have in future processes. We could create a subcommittee specific to the Supportive Housing Development Fund that the Housing Division could staff. We could make that decision today if that's part of your processes, or we could save that for a future presentation and talk more about what that looks like. Sorry, I've attended many ICH meetings, but I've never actually been on the committee myself. And I'm here as a proxy for Steve. So you forgive me if I'm naive about what it takes to make the processes move forward. But we could do that today. We could, folks who are interested and want to engage in this process more could, let me know, or we could create a group and email and meet separately to decide what that looks like later, and then bring that to the next official ICH meeting to vote on. It's really up to you all what you'd like. I think what might be really ideal is engaging this body in some capacity building and training once we have those proposals submitted and once we have that training, that technical assistance provider and consultant in place. And then also helping using this body as feedback for improving the application process, improving the outreach process to communities that might not be reached, like Michael Montero's comment there, I think is a great point that it's possible there's multiple factors that are preventing rural communities from coming in. We could do a little research on that. And then also in the future, for future rounds in the spring, having some folks from this body who are interested in this intervention and this housing intervention joining the scoring process from the beginning, I think would be a great use of this committee.
Awesome. I
Chair
think all
Rob,
of
if I
those
may.
signs. Yes, go ahead.
Christine Hetz from the Housing Division and just supporting Joanna. She's just really taken this on and it's been awesome. Thank you so much. I just wanted to add too, because I know how busy committee members are. In that engagement with a potential subcommittee, it could be members of your agency or team that participate, right? I don't want this committee to feel overwhelmed with engagement, but having sat at the legislative table with Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno and Ms. Brooke Page, the intent of engaging the Interagency Council on Homelessness to Housing is really because of all of the cross-sector partners here at this table, impacting, influencing, and making sure that we are leveraging all possible resources and outlets. So I don't want people to feel burdened and that they have to come to the table, but if we think of, the Department of Health, perhaps it's a team member that it makes sense to engage on a subcommittee level. And again, to Joanna's point, it doesn't have to be made today. And if you'd like to engage with Joanna separately to bring to the next ICHH, that also works for us, however the committee chooses.
Yeah, that's a
Awesome.
great point. Thank you so much, Christine.
Awesome. Thank you both. I think, yes, I think the answer is we would love to enhance our engagement here on the council and then also potentially through a subcommittee. I think it would probably be best if we include that on an upcoming agenda with some kind of ideas on maybe what seats we'd be looking to fill and how we would want to structure that. So I think that in between now and the next meeting, we can have some discussions with the housing division and some other partners to see what that should look like. And then we can bring a proposal to the council for approval, maybe the next meeting that we have at the beginning of next year to start down that path. I think
Okay.
also if you wouldn't mind, if it's possible to share these slides maybe with our Division of Welfare and Supportive Services team to distribute to the council members. I think that would be great. And then potentially including your contact information there so that if there's members that would like to reach out specifically on individual questions or comments on the process, that we can go through that process as well.
Perfect.
But yeah, I think
Definitely
generally
do that.
we would love to stay involved. I think this is an amazing step forward and love to be a part of a pilot program that hopefully will have a lot of success and drive some impacts across the state. And like Judge Montero, I also would love to see some rural engagement and potentially some tribal as well in the program and hopefully be able to enhance all of our communities. So appreciate all the work. I think this is amazing. I think that the work that you guys have done to this point will really set us up for success. So thank you.
Thank you
Are
all
there
so
any?
much.
Absolutely. Are there any additional questions for the housing division team? I think with that, we're good to move on. Thank you so much for the presentation and all the work that's gone into it. We'll move on to agenda item number 5, our second period of general public comment. Again, no action may be taken upon a matter raised under this agenda item. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. If you are making public comment via phone, please call 1-775-321-6111 with a meeting ID of 285-404-721 followed by pound. We are now open for public comment. Does anyone on the line wish to make public comment? Again, we'll give it just a minute or so to allow people to dial in if they are doing so. Haven't seen anybody join the meeting, so I think we've given it about enough time. Last call for public comment. Okay, I think we can move into adjournment, and it is 11:35. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for joining. Appreciate everybody's engagement on this, and thank you to the Housing Division for all that they've done to get to this point.
Thank you all so much.
Hello.